Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Sunday morning celebration, to all the beloveds who are here in the sanctuary, to all the beloveds who are here in real time, and to all the beloveds who will hear this service in some time in the future. I would like to echo what Jeff so profoundly said, that this community has no boundaries for love, of love. That is who we are. We are a place where one can come wherever they find themselves on their spiritual journey and find home here. And so that is the experience I invite you into. I'm Reverend Karen Lewis. I'm one of the senior ministers here, and it is my joy to be here. And it is my joy to share with you more adventures in love. More adventures in love. Last week, if you were with us, you might recall that we talked about various ways of love. Various ways. We leaned into the Greek philosophers. We leaned into the Greek philosophers and learned about different ways of love. And if you recall this slide, that is how we completed last week. And the slide, it was our homework slide. And it said, the invitation for this week is what love is present in your life, and then also cultivate phalasia. I think that is how it's pronounced. And that is self-love. That is the love of the self. And we did a ceremony, and I want to share with you that the response has touched my heart. And what it made me realize that we need to spend a lot more time. We need to spend a lot more time cultivating our love for ourselves. Because what we will hear today, what we will understand even more deeply, that only if we cultivate the love of our own self, are we even able to give love into the world? That is the work, my beloveds. To be able to walk up to a mirror in the morning and not see wrinkles or anything else, but to look in our eyes and to see the beloved, the divine, looking back at us. When each and every one of us is able to do that. To look in our own eyes and say, I love you. I really, really love you. Then we are doing the work of healing our own lives. And so we can go out into the world and be that healing presence and create that healing space for others. But before we go there, I want to share a couple of the wonderful sayings that have been shared with me this week that our kids are saying. We're going to start up with Ken Casey, our youth and family ministry coordinator, sent a couple of quotes from our kids. Damien said, love is when you care and want to care for people. And when asked how he shows love, he says, he shows love for his dog, Cairo, by petting him, hugging him, and rubbing his belly. I think that will work for all of us. Yeah. Andy showed love for his friends by making and then giving them Valentine's bags, which I think is fabulous. So often we make something and then hold back from actually giving it. But not Andy. He went and gave it. Billy H4 said, when someone loves you, the way they say your name is different. You just know that your name is safe in their mouth. And Nika, age 6, says, if you want to learn to love better, you should start with a friend who you hate. Yeah, we could use about 1 million of Nikas in the world. Love is when you tell a guy you like his shirt, and then he wears it every day. That comes from Noel, who is 7. We have 2 more. Lauren, age 4, chooses to look at love very interestingly. She says, I know my older sister loves me because she gives me her old clothes and then she has to go out and buy new ones. And finally, Jessica, age 8, says, you really shouldn't say, I love you, unless you mean it. But if you mean it, you should say it a lot, because people forget. Oh, and they're precious, so thank you so much for sending these to me. It was just a wonderful week of sharing love and for engaging in this conversation that we are in about love. You might remember this slide from last week when we looked at the different expressions of love, and we learned that the Greek philosophers actually have 8 words for love, focusing on different areas. And we ended up with Phalacia, I believe I pronounced that correctly. And I want to spend some more time with it because it's so important. It's so important. So I asked myself, who is a representation of promoting and understanding self-love, and who has been willing to move out into the world and do that work? And this beloved came to mind, Louise Hay. And if we would all already be back together in the sanctuary, and those who are going to be online, I would say, who here has heard about Louise Hay? And I expect some hands to go up. Yes. And if you are logged into the chat, let us know, because my guess is more than 50% of people have heard about it, but I would like to be right, so please let me know. So Louise Hay, she had a very interesting life. Her parents actually divorced when she was 3 years old. And if you notice there, she was born in 1926. Divorce in the 1920s was not looked upon how divorce is looked upon now. So what happened, her mom actually gave her into the foster system because there wasn't a way of her to remain with her mom. And she had a horrible experience. The foster system was not serving her at that time. She experienced a lot of very, very unbelievable hardship. And then a couple of years later, her mom married again, brought Louise back into the marriage, and unfortunately married a man who was very violent. And so Louise grew up in this very violent experience. And by the age of 15, she became pregnant. She had a little girl, and she gave the girl up for adoption. And then she changed her life. She went first to Chicago, but then she ended up in New York City, where she worked as a model, determined to make something of her life that had a really rough start. There she met an Englishman, they got married, and for 15 years traveled the world and had this experience of ease in the world. And then abruptly he left. He left her for another woman, and she found a religious science church in New York. And the minister there was Raymond Charles Barker, a powerhouse. Oh yeah, you could just hear everybody went like, oh wow, yes, yes. And so she studied with him. She became a minister of this teaching. And then she was diagnosed with cancer in the 70s. Now, she said, if I really believe this teaching, I am going to prove to myself and to my world around me that this disease has come into my body because of my thought patterns. And she got about the work of healing her thought patterns. And within 6 months, there was no evidence of cancer in her body. Yes, and we always say in this teaching, manifestation, experience in our own lives trumps everything, right? We can share these stories, but until we have felt it in our own life, there's an uplifting that happens. It's that calling to go out into the world, to speak so differently, because we have experienced it. And that is what happened to her. So she said, in the quote that we have here, I had to love myself a great deal more than I did. And I had to clear up some patterns of resentment that I had held from when I had been a battered and abused child. Wow. Think about that. Think about that. She was willing to lay down the thought patterns of blaming the others and shaming herself. For she recognized that that is how disease happens. That is how disease happens in our body. That is how disease happens in our relationships, in our communities, in our nation, and in our world. We have to be willing to lay down our patterns. And we have to engage in a self-love that is so complete that it washes away any old beliefs of the contrary. That is the work. That is the work. And the question then is, well, why? Why do I want to do that? Because not only do I heal myself, I am able to then step into the highest form of love, and that is agape. Agape. That is the love of humanity. That is the love that has nothing to do if I like that person or if I don't like the person. Whew, breathe that in. Just like the little girl said, if you want to really learn how to love, love someone you hate. Now that is a very different message than what we usually hear, is it not? Yeah. That is the call of this teaching. That is the call of the spiritual life. And one who has heard this call and answered it beautiful is Paramahansa Yogananda, the guru that came from the East to bring the teaching of yoga to the West. He's often called the father of yoga here in the West. He found the self-realization fellowship, and we have many, many of the ashrams here in America and all over the world. And I often think about how he felt as a young individual that had been taught to and knew that he would be leading a life of the yogi, but then he met with his guru, and his guru says, you, my beloved, have been chosen to go to the West and bring our teachings to the West. He was 17 at the time. I don't know. Did he say, yay, America? Or did he say, oh. But that was the calling that was placed upon his life. And that's what he came to teach. That love, that giving of love, has not to do with the question, is that person worthy of my love? It has nothing to do with anybody else. The choice to love is simply our choice. Here's how he says it. He says, to stop loving is to stem the purifying flow of love. I shall loyally love every being, everything, until I find all races, all creatures, all animate and inanimate objects embraced by my love. Close your eyes right now. Just close your eyes. Put your hand on your heart Everybody has their eyes closed. Nobody can see it. And ask yourself, where am I on that continuum? Where is my willingness to just love? And not get caught up as something worthy of my love. That sense of overflowing love. And just notice it for yourself. And open your eyes and come back. Are you willing? Are you willing to explore how your world would change if you come to it with that kind of love? Paramahansa Yogananda goes on and he says, I will love until every soul, every star, every forsaken creature, every atom is lodged in my heart. For in the infinite love of God, my breast of eternity is large enough to hold everything in me. That is how we grow. As we are willing to hold the entire universe in our hearts and bestow our love on everything, that is how we share. That is how we change our lives. I am passionate about this, and I would like to share a video clip of someone who is equally or probably more passionate about this, Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, this audio recording is over 50 years old, so I invite everyone, open your entire being to listen from the place of love. For even if you don't understand every word, I know you will hear this message.
And people ask me about it all the time. So what do you mean when you tell us to love these people who are beating on us and bombing our houses and kicking our children around? What in the world do you mean when you say love such people? And I always have to stop and try to define the meaning of love in this area. And interestingly enough, Greek philosophy comes to our aid at this point. There are three words in the Greek language for love. One of them is the word eros. Now, eros is a sort of aesthetic love. It has come to us to mean a sort of romantic love, and so we all know about eros. We've experienced it. We read about it in the beauties of literature. Then the Greek language talks about phileo, which is another level of love. It is an intimate affection between personal friends. On this level, we love because we are loved. We love people that we like. This is friendship. Then the Greek language has another word called agape. Agape is more than romantic love. Agape is more than friendship. Agape is not something affectionate. Agape is understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill for all men. It is an overflowing love which seeks nothing in return. Theologians would say that it is the love of God operating in the human heart. And when one rises to love on this level, he loves men not because he likes them, but he loves every man because God loves him. He goes on with that. And so he rises to the level of hating the system rather than the individual who is caught up in that system. He loves the person and hates the evil deed. And I think this is what Jesus meant when he said, love your enemies. And I'm happy that he didn't say like your enemies, because it's pretty difficult to like some people. It's difficult to like people bombing your home and threatening your children and kicking you about. But Jesus says love them, and love is greater than like. Love is understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill for all men. And somehow, more and more, I've come to believe this. That this is the way that we will get out of this dark night of oppression.
For agape is the love that It's how God loves through the human heart. That is the love we're talking about. Such an invitation to be able to do just that. The founder of our teaching, Dr. Ernest Holmes, says it this way: when we let the love that is within us go out to the God who is in all people and the divine presence that is in all things, then we are loving God with all our heart and with all our soul and our mind, because we are recognizing the Spirit within us is the same Spirit that we meet in others. This is loving your neighbors as yourself. What an invitation. I don't know about you, but sometimes I fall short on this. Usually before breakfast. And yet, I feel that calling upon my life. I feel that yearning to share this type of a love. To bring forth agape in even greater ways. And I am so blessed that I am part of a community where that is our vision, to reveal the power of love. And so I hope that we have gained a little bit more of an understanding when we say that, when we say we are here to reveal the power of love, that is not the eros love or the friendship love, but that it's rather the love that calls us to love one another if we agree with each other or if we not agree with each other. If we understand why someone is acting in perhaps a very unskilled way, or if we don't understand it. All of that conversation is being taken away as we are invited to just love. Now, how can we do it? How can we do that? I came across this wonderful list of things. It's called the 7 Ways to Start Making Kindness the Norm in Our Daily Lives. Because you see, I believe that we are a very practical teaching. I love to feel the calling, but then unless we are willing to put it into action, it's just a good talk. It's just inspiration. What makes the difference in our lives is if we are willing to say, I heard the call, and I will make a change. And here are 7 easy ways we can engage in that change. It starts with saying, send an uplifting text to a friend or family member. Well, how easy is that? Let the guy merge into traffic with a wave, a full hand wave, and a smile. Oh, I knew you would get that. Include intentional moments of kindness and laughter and delight into your daily routine. I like this one. Go slightly outside of your comfort zone at least once a day to make someone smile. It reminds me of Andy, right, who made not only Valentine's bags, but was then willing to give it to his friends. Go out of your comfort zone. Talk to someone who is perhaps down on their luck. Be there for another. Share a compliment with a coworker or a friend. Reach out to a family member you haven't spoken to in a while, and then treat someone to a cup of coffee or tea. A friend, a stranger, perhaps yourself. See, what I want to bring into this message is, yes, we look at the life of Louise Hay or the life of Paramahansa Yogananda or Dr. Martin Luther King, and we say, oh my God, that is so big. I don't know that I can live that big of a life. And yet, that is not how we start this self-love, the change, the work in this lifetime. For us, I believe, is to make changes that feel right for us. And as we put ourselves into alignment with the love that is everywhere present, that is the love of the divine, naturally our lives are going to expand, are going to get bigger, and we're going to blossom in the work that we have been called to do. And this community can support us. The love here is so wide and so deep that it can welcome all of us into it and can help us change our lives. I am so grateful you are on this journey with me. I am so grateful you said yes to being here today, for together we will surely change the world. And let us take this into prayer. Please join me. If you're a practitioner of this teaching, if you are a minister, please rise right where you stand and hold this space with me. For we breathe into the deep knowingness that there's only one of us, one presence, one power, one all-inclusive love that holds all of us. At every moment, we see it in the beautiful sunrise. I saw it this morning in two birds walking the labyrinth, and I thought, oh, God is right there. Allow yourself to connect with the way that you see the divine. A kind word, beauty, nature, love, harmony, inspiration. And as we breathe into the center of our being, we allow ourselves to feel one with it. For we realize there is only one of us. There's only one life. There's only one life, and that life is God's life, and that life is my life now. I claim it. I am it. And from this place, we step into proclaiming the good for ourselves and for all people. The deep knowingness that this life is good. That this universe is a friendly universe, that there, for any challenge that is before me, there's an elegant solution just waiting for me to discover it. That this life is to grow our hearts even wider, even bigger. And so we say yes. We hear the call and we say yes. For when life calls, we have to answer. And so feeling the gratitude just bubbling up within us naturally, we recognize how very, very blessed we are. Thank you, life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we just place this word into universal law, the law that always says yes. Into that mirror that always says yes. And we let it be. And so it is.